Oh.
We'll start with the karakia me no i tātou. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mākina kina ki uta, kia mātaratara ki tai, e hi aki ana te atakura, he tio, he hoka, he hauhu, tihei, mauri ora. Morning everybody. This is Rail Safety Week. It happens every week. Not every week. It happens every year. 1 week a year. It could be every week. Well, every week is a Rail Safety Week, but there is 1 week in particular where it is highlighted and communicated about. And a couple of us went to meeting to highlight and launch the week on Monday, was it? Yeah. And in Parliament with the Minister for Rail and a good bunch of people talking and just highlighting the risks and the importance of communicating, especially to kids, but also to anybody who lives around the tracks. Lots of places where there aren't really actually any proper safety measures around the crossings. Just bear that in mind. The message this year is stay off, stay safe, tracks for trains. So a little notice for you all, public safety, public service announcement. Today we've got the Transport Committee. It's our penultimate Transport Committee of this council term. Got another one in September and that'll be it. So, make the most of it. Obviously we'll have them next term, presumably, but not with me. Anyway, enough of that. We have an agenda to get through and then we've got 2 workshops afterwards. Actually, we've got a Transport Committee workshop and then we've got a council workshop. I am slightly anticipating that we might get through this agenda, not, maybe like we could finish 11:30 for the actual meeting of the committee. And then I'm thinking if we could just go straight into the workshop and then we could have some lunch and then we could do the council workshop. And then we might actually be able to be finished for the day, by like maybe even, 1:30 or something. Anyway, that's what we're thinking. Or maybe 2. With that, let's get into the business. So item number 1 is apologies. And I have apologies from Councillor Ponta, Councillor Gaylor and Councillor Duffy for absence, and an apology from Councillor Connolly for early departure for other related council business. So I think those were all the apologies. Maybe someone could move those. Councillor Staples and Councillor Laban is seconding those. All those in favour? Aye. Those against? That's passed. Thank you very much. Any conflicts of interest to declare? I see none. Thank you. Public participation, item 3. We have a public participant
He's not joined the meeting.
who has not joined the meeting. So we do not have a public participant. Have we heard from
No, he hasn't.
Mr. Phillips? No. Okay. Well, that's that then. Then we'll move to item.
Mr. Chair, could I suggest that if he does join in the next half hour that we permit him to speak?
That sounds good to me. Yep, let's do it. Okay, everyone okay with that? Yep. Great. So we'll sort of defer item 3 for now, indefinitely, until the end of the meeting. And then we'll move to item 4, which is to confirm our minutes from the last meeting that we had on the 10th of June. Somebody want to move those? Councillor Connolly and Councillor Saw seconding those. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? That's passed as well. So we can move to number 5. So Sam, would you like to give us an update on progress of action items?
Thanks, Chair. Kia ora, councillors. So the action items, we'll take the report as read. We are trying to close out as many of these actions as we possibly can by the end of the triennium. And I just wanted to give you a further update in terms of the Route 2 electric articulated vehicles, which indicates in the report that we were scheduled to have the procurement completed by today. It isn't quite there, so we're making really good progress with Kinetic on that. But we haven't quite signed the documentation. That will happen in the next couple of weeks. and we will certainly let you know when that has been confirmed.
Thank you.
Questions.
Are there any questions about any of these items? No, that's good. See, I thought this might be quite a good swift meeting. I just had a feeling. I might jinx it. I won't jinx it. Not jinxing it. Okay. Yeah. Good point. Okay. So happy with that. Thanks, Anne. Yeah. Looking forward to those articulated buses getting purchased. And good to be close on that one. So item 6, Tower fixed route bus service. We're going to get an update. This is a for information item. So Rob Braddock and Tamsin here to talk to us about that. Hello team. Thanks for the report. We'll take it as read, and if you can, take us through any items you'd like to introduce.
Morning, councillors. In summary, the Route 59 service has been running since February, and the review at this early stage was about providing ideas on how to improve it, given it was implemented very quickly, rather than assessing its overall viability, to which a year of data will tell us a lot more about patronage trends. Our July data that's not shown in the report is showing an increase on the previous months with a total of 1,080 customers for July. And that includes a school holiday week, which is traditionally a bit lighter. So that further assessment should be accompanied by the service improvements that we have identified in the paper, being changing the route in order to improve access to the Longview retirement home, starting the process of formalising bus stops, and additional promotion and marketing of the service, potentially hosting more community drop-in sessions. And investigating further, lowering the frequency of the service in the middle of the day and moving that bus and driver to an earlier peak service to get people into the city earlier, and potentially integrating the Granada North school bus route 402 without increasing the overall peak bus requirement. In terms of financial implications of those changes going forward, they fit into our existing budgets for service improvements. We have the identified route change via the retirement home has no financial impact. We have an existing region-wide budget for bus stops, and bus stops will be established following careful consideration for priority and optimal location. We have an established budget for communications activities, and so promotion of the service will be able to be met from within that budget. So just circling back, financial implications I meant to lead with, in terms of the overall financial viability of the service going forward, it will be wrapped up into the wider network cost savings assessment that we've already commenced. The other service improvements that I talked about, such as the integration with the Granada North school bus service and what have you, they're all expected to be cost neutral after some more work to be completed, but we're not looking at increasing the number of buses and drivers required to provide the overall service. Right, happy to answer questions.
Thanks, Rob. Got a couple here. So I think Councillor Staples first. Oh, Councillor Connolly first. Yep.
So my questions just relate to a comparison of the fixed route service to the previous on-demand service. So can you remind me of the numbers that we were getting on the on-demand service and how that compares to the numbers we're getting on the fixed route? Also, similarly, with the finances, I am keen to keep those finances separate because I would like, again, a financial comparison to the on-demand service, and if it just gets subsumed into the wider Metlink bus thing, we'll never be able to do that. So if you could give me those comparisons, that'd be good.
Absolutely. So, Councillor Connolly, I don't have that information in respect to Tara on Demand in front of me, but that's certainly information that we can pull together and provide for you.
But it is down. It is down. It's lower. Yeah.
Through you, the chair, Tara on Demand was running at about just under 200 passengers per day towards the end of the trial. Obviously, as Rob notes, there was a significant ramp-up period as well, so where you start is often not where you end in terms of patronage, but it was averaging around 200 people per day, which would be 6,000 per month, give or take. The cost of on-demand was round about, it varied a bit, but towards the end it was around about $10 to $12 per person travel. That was the cost. Obviously, I think as Rob says, you'd like to give this a full 12 months to ascertain where the cost profile for the service goes, because I think you'd see quite a big ramp up in that time.
But obviously, from that data, I mean, as you've said, we need to give it a chance. But at the moment, I mean, the numbers are under 1,000. So we're not getting the same patronage that we did on the on-demand. Nowhere near.
Yeah, very, very significant drop in patronage. Yeah. Adrian, Councillor Staples.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is really a question that goes to the review of the frequency. When you are looking at your off-peak services, could you please make sure that you give people enough time between getting into, say, the shops or their appointment and getting back? Because one of the big gripes that I get on the Wairarapa line off-peak services, which I appreciate are different, but people don't have enough time to do anything. They get there and they have to turn around and come back. So, and thinking back 100 years when I was young and lived in Belmont, we had a shopper's bus at 10 o'clock, and then that came back from Lower Hutt about 2:30. So it gave people enough time to actually do something. So if you could keep that consideration when you're reviewing the timetable, I think it would be beneficial. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Staples. We will do that.
Thank you. So I've got Councillor Kirkman, Councillor Ropata, and then Councillor Lee.
Thank you. The reason we made changes is because of cost, and it was a cost per passenger issue that we made changes in that. So what I'd like to see provided is the actual cost per passenger basis of this compared with the average cost per passenger across our whole operation and that. The reason I ask for that is we should be comparing whether it's more cost effective or less so than what we were doing previously and how it sits against other existing options and that. And perhaps that could be sent out to people without waiting to the next meeting and that. I think that that's a basis that we need to make decisions on, and we should be looking at that. I know that we're probably going to trial it for a year, and I've got no problems on that, but we should have a look at that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. That level of analysis is something we'll pick up in the wider cost review across the whole of our services, rather than looking at it service by service. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in the workshop session we have this afternoon. But yes, cost per passenger and cost effectiveness of services is an important part of our considerations and in terms of our whole service offering across the region.
Thanks, Tams, and I appreciate that. But specifically in regard to this, which is really a trial, which has been going on for some time, we should make sure we are comparing that with across the average of all the others, and that's what I want to see, please. Thank you.
Councillor Ropata.
Kia ora, thanks for this. Just a quick question around how long would it normally take to establish bus stops? I know you have to go through a consultation process, and we are coming up to summer, so that's better. Is it going to be before winter that we can establish some bus stops? Because it's pretty cold and windy out there in Wellington. Also, I just want to quickly thank you. I thank everyone for using the existing fleet. I think that's great.
Well, thank you, Councillor Ropata. it is quite a lengthy process that we go through in order to establish stops. And we, I think the identification of where those stops should be is a relatively quick thing. But then we go through, it'll be Wellington City Council's traffic resolution process in order to establish stops, and we need to make sure that we're talking to everyone that's impacted by the presence of those stops. I'd love to be able to give you something a bit more specific than that. If it's all right, I can come back with a timeline around that, an anticipated timeline.
Thank you, Councillor Lee.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had two questions. The first one, which related to comparing the fixed service to on-demand. That's already been answered because you can't really beat an on-demand service. The second one is very impressive numbers around performance. Is that due to the short route, and or is it also the stability of the drivers?
Thanks, Councillor Lee. I mean, anecdotally, Mana are a good operator, and so they're focused on delivering the service, and they do that. That's the short answer. I think that the route is less subject to the type of congestion that we get in the city, less affected, but they're committed to delivering the service.
Thank you. I guess one of the downsides is that the patronage is much less, and it's almost 1/6 of what was being provided for on demand.
Yes, that'll certainly be helping punctuality. The reliability is about the bus being there in the first place, having a bus, having a driver, and being on time.
Yeah. Okay, is that all the questions on this item? Thank you. I mean, I get one of the things from my perspective is it's if there were no public transport here, whether on demand or a fixed route, there would be quite a few people living further than a 10-minute walk from any public transport, which is not consistent with our policy and strategy. So we've got to do something, and it's really working out what works. So yeah, we'll give it a bit more time, see how we go. And thanks for the information in the report about the themes of the feedback so far. I mean, that's what I'm hearing as well, so it's consistent there. Okay, great. Thank you very much for this. We'll follow it with interest. And yeah, like Councillor Kirkman said, I think that the more updates we can get on an ongoing basis about it, the better, probably. Thank you. Okay, item number 7 is our customer survey results for this year. Hi, David. Over to you.
Kia ora koutou, Council, Chair. Look, I'll just give a very brief introduction to this, and then take it as read. But I guess the highlights of this year score a very high score for bus, one of the highest scores we've ever had for bus, which is really positive. However, a lower score for rail overall, and the reason for that clearly related to maintenance on the tracks, planned and unplanned disruptions. But I'm ready to take any questions.
Councillor Laban.
I don't mean to be negative or denigrate a report in any way. I know we've sort of raised this a few times over the years. I wonder if we see any value in doing a survey with our non-customers. Why are you not catching the bus? Why are you not catching the train? Where are you going to? And I'm not sure whether we've done that before, but I'm just trying to get a gauge of whether if we ask the right questions, whether those responses potentially could change a few things that we do. I don't know the answer to that, so it's a roundabout sort of.
Through the chair, just noting the specific purpose of this is to monitor the satisfaction of our existing customers. It's also an NZTA statutory requirement. But yes, look, we do get insights into our non-passengers. Most recently, we've done the work on lapsed rail passenger use, given us some insights. There's also other surveys that Greater Wellington takes with a wider community that provide insights into the reasons for people not using public transport. But when it comes to a specific focus, we do have budget to commission research with those customers.
I mean, it really does reinforce the sort of thinking that reliability is the main driver. But yeah, carry on, Councillor Laban, and then Councillor Connolly.
Only that so the hospital and DHB, the biggest employer in the hut, once they introduce paid parking inside, it's an absolute nightmare for the staff who now park on the streets. So you've got irate residents who losing street space. You've got frustrated staff, and they'd always wondered, like, if 450 single driver cars try and find a park somewhere around what can we do? What are we doing? Are we relevant? Do we have routes, timetables that reflect all of those? I don't know the answer to those things, but I'd often thought with our frustration over the years about stuff with as you're talking about in terms of our budget and our funding to support that kind of work, whether there potentially could be a new way forward for us to think about how we do things. That's all.
Through the chair, actually, one example in the Hutt Valley is the work we've been doing on the hospital parking situation. So, as we've done with Wellington, yes, we do input into that and ensure that we're bolstering those services, to mitigate those issues. So, yes, but any of those issues that come to our attention, we can address.
Another good example, Councillor Laban, of why road controlling authority and public transport authority functions need to be within the same organisation. Because if you are taking away parking, you need to, if you pull the parking lever one way, you need to pull the public transport lever the other way at the same time. And doing that across two different organisations with two different sets of governance and bureaucracy is just hard. It's just always going to be hard. Anyway, my thoughts for the day on that matter. Councillor Connolly.
We know that our rail satisfaction is massively influenced by the fact that we've got the maintenance and bus replacements happening on the rail line, and to a certain extent we can't do much about that. We're going to need to continue taking the trains off service so that we can improve, also that Kiwi Rail can improve the tracks and ensure that the trains have a sustainable future. However, we can provide good information to people about the services that are being affected. And again, we're seeing a downward trend, particularly in the rail space, on the information provided. Now, this is a bit of a patsy question, but can you tell us about what we're doing around providing information, particularly around access to real-time information and information on bus replacements, real-time information on buses that are replacing trains as well. Just generally in that space, it's within our control to do better. And can you tell us what's on the radar and what kind of results we're expecting?
So currently we're introducing better information through our existing channels, albeit in somewhat static form, encouraging customers to consider other services that are reliable. For instance, other bus routes exist. So in the last block of line there was maps and simplified information outlining what your options are. In the medium term, we currently have a focus on improving the app to provide better real-time information focused on personalised information focused on the user. So rather than sort of having to search through to plan your journey, something that would actually present, you preload your preferences and will present you with the options that you have in hand and much more targeted notifications to give you better information about disruptions in advance. There's also an upgrade to the RTI system, which is ongoing. So we'll be improving the presentation of real-time information at stations throughout the network in the coming 18 months.
What about the buses replacing trains? We've heard quite a lot about the fact that they don't meet the stated timetables, what are we doing to either get the buses onto the stated timetables or amend the timetables so people aren't led astray by the information we're providing?
Or get the bus's location tracked.
Through the chair, we're working on how we can track those things so we can provide real-time information for those services, acknowledging that's quite a difficult task. As part of that, we're also considering how we might better plan around blocks of lines so we can timetable those services within our app and our website to provide real-time information through that channel.
What kind of timeline are we looking for the real-time bus replacement information?
I couldn't give you a definitive timeline, but we can come back to you on that.
I think we were hoping to get it in place before the summer, I think.
It's we would really like to get something in place before the summer block of line coming.
Paul, and then I've got Councillor Staples and Councillor Saul.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. We are trying to get it in before summer. So you'll have, I think the way we're going to be able to do it is to try and do exactly what we do with our current bus services and get drivers to trip on. There is a difference with it where you will be able to have visibility through the app, but you may not have visibility through at this stage. But that's, I suppose, phase one.
So Councillor Staples and then Councillor Saul.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question, of course, today is around the Wairarapa line, and it is obviously our problem child, and I don't want anybody to think that I am saying that flippantly. I guess what I'm asking for, I know the staffing issues are all but fixed, but we're still getting breakdowns that just I find hard to believe. If there's proper checking, etc., before locos are brought up to the stable, etc. So my question is, are we giving the Wairarapa line greater visibility in our day-to-day function? I know on Monday I talked to Peter Reedy and Sam was there, and he said, yes, we are giving, we've certainly got our eye on the Wairarapa line, but somehow I just don't feel quite convinced yet that we really do have our size 9 up its backside, to put it crudely. That's a rural expression. So that's my question.
Through you, Chair, I would say that we do have our attention on the Wairarapa line, both in terms of the Transdev performance and the KiwiRail performance. And in any given week, there are a lot of people talking to a lot of other, a lot of Metlink people engaged with both Transdev and Wairarapa and KiwiRail, around the Wairarapa line issues. So we definitely are keeping it, top of mind for everybody involved, and with the importance of, resuming the service being reliable is a really key aspect for us. And in terms of, we obviously understand the impact on the community and the Wairarapa, and it will be really good to have when the staffing levels are returned, to be able to have that, the bus replacements removed.
Thank you. Could I just ask, and I fully appreciate that this is an operational question, but one of the breakdowns we had was ice on hoses and a hose broke or something. Another breakdown we had was to do with a loco before it was coupled up to the train. And I could be completely incorrect here, but I mean, aircraft have checks that they have to go through before the passengers get on. They know how to de-ice them, and it sort of feels like faulty towers when I get a call to say, well, something broke because it had ice on it. So can I get the assurance that KiwiRail, because they run the locomotives, that they really have got their head around these locos that are loosely, they're not sitting in Wellington, they're out over there. I need some assurance that they are properly maintained, properly checked before they come up to be connected to their carriages. I hope you understand why I feel frustrated about these sorts of issues.
Through you, the Chair. The services are checked, so we have 5. So one's in service, being serviced every day in the workshop. Also, Kiwi Rail have an engineer on site on platform waiting for that service to arrive. So it goes through its checks. So that person does that. Kiwi Rail are also connecting the locos up at the workshop to do its brake testing before it gets onto platform. So the checks are being done. There is some older gear and the carriages as well, and we will have maintenance issues from time to time. But I think if we look at even Kiwi Rail's KPI, I think the KPI is 60,000 kilometres per one failure. They're currently sitting at 66,000 kilometres per one failure. So it's that's not too bad when you think of the amount of kilometres it's doing before it has a failure.
It'd be interesting to know the reliability and those sorts of loco issues on the Capital Connection line compared to the Wairarapa line. Obviously, Capital Connection line is delivered by Kiwi Rail with Kiwi Rail equipment, whereas the Wairarapa line is delivered for us with Kiwi Rail equipment via Transdev. So a different arrangement. It would be quite interesting to understand whether there is a greater or my gut tells me that the Capital Connection is going to be more reliable. But anyway, next is Councillor Saw and then Councillor Lee. And just to say kia ora to Hemi Phillips, who's online. We'll come to you for public participation after this item, Hemi. So we've just deferred item 3. We're now at item 7 on our agenda. So we'll come to you after we've finished this item, if that's okay, with everybody here as well. So next is Councillor Saw.
Thank you for this update. I'm going to continue on with the theme on the bus replacement train, and I was just wondering how we are tracking with the BRT action plan, because there are a bunch of actions that are to be happening by September, and whether we're in a good place for that summer work, because I think the same questions keep coming up, and ultimately we just want assurance for our passengers that the issues that we've identified are going to be mitigated and improved on. So just wanting to know where we're tracking with the items that you have as actions for this segment of months that will be ready for summer.
Through you, the Chair. I think the BRT action plan is tracking along quite well. There are some things that will have to be pushed out. The improvements on platform 10 with the current block of line in place, we're not going to get access to that. We do have a heads of agreement with Kiwi Rail that we've just received, and we need to negotiate that part of it. Being able to track the bus replacements is coming along quite well. We'll have to trial that before we put it out for Christmas.
I guess it'll be good to have an update before we get into, I suppose, October, November, in case there are some things that are off track, so that as the outgoing council and the incoming council, we're able to socialise those messages, because I think given the way that our rail patronage is tracking and customer satisfaction, I think it's really important that we're really upfront and clear of what we're able to do, what we're not able to do, and what we would like to do. And I still don't quite have a strong sense of those things.
Yeah, we can get an update, a proper big update for the next final Transport Committee meeting in September. And yeah, just acknowledging a lot of focus on rail in this item, which is on the customer satisfaction survey. But that sort of makes sense because the main item in the survey is rail, so I understand that. Councillor Lee.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to switch away from rail. I'm going to go to ferry. The ferry numbers, that's a very high satisfaction level. So I don't want to sound rude, but it does surprise me, right? So why is that? Is it because I don't want to understate how important it is or how difficult it is to provide that level of service, but is it because they're easy to please, or is it because it's not hard? It's quite a difficult service to provide, isn't it? That East-West ferry.
I think those scores are likely influenced by just the very unique nature of that service and the group of commuters that it serves. So that score is primarily score from those commuting customers. So it has varied in the past due to quality of wharf infrastructure and the boats, but we're currently running quite reliably. And as I said, that specific group prepared to pay a higher premium for that faster trip, that does have an influence on the score. And when everything's running reliability, it scores very high.
So is it correct the electric ferry is no longer operating?
No, it is operating.
Back in service.
Yes, it's back. It's been back for a week or so.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thanks.
We do have an issue today with the Ikariri. So its navigation system has gone down. Matt is heading to Auckland to pick up the parts. We should be back fairly shortly with that service, but the service is being maintained with the 2 diesels.
It's really good. Okay, is that everything there? Thanks, David. My sense on the rail side of things is, as we've discussed, really, if we can deliver an excellent service at the peaks, and just make sure that we've got high reliability and the best punctuality we can on the peaks, I think that's probably the best we can do for now. And making sure we've got really good information. I think we are improving on that, but there's room to improve as well. And as we've discussed, keeping that heat on to the providers who we pay to use the tracks and provide the trains, making sure that their performance is improved as well. That's key. Okay, we're going to circle back to item 3, public participation. And Hemi, are you in a position to talk to us now? Oh, kia ora, Hemi. Okay, so welcome along to our Transport Committee meeting. This is live streamed, by the way, and so what we do is we have 5 minutes for you to speak to us, and then we have 5 minutes for us to ask you questions, and we're in your hands now, so take it away.
Thank you very much. I'm very sorry for missing the earlier time, but thanks very much to the committee for hearing me. I want to share, I guess I complained online yesterday about Hutt Valley Line bus replacements leaving early, and Quinton invited me to share to the community, to the committee, and I guess this is just it's an emphasis from an anecdotal experience about the importance of building trust for public transport services. So I catched the first bus from Waterloo of the bus replacements, and Metlink had an advertising campaign and released a timetable that this bus would leave at 9:52 a.m. Each day. And twice this week, I've seen the bus leave early. This was on Monday and Wednesday. I didn't catch the bus on Tuesday, so I can't speak to that. And so on Monday, myself and another passenger, we saw the bus leaving as we're approaching the station. And so this was about 9:48 a.m., so 4 or 5 minutes before the bus was meant to leave. A Metlink staff member was at the station, and so we complained to them. They called the head office and confirmed that the bus had left early. He said he lodged a complaint on our behalf, but didn't tell me how I could lodge one myself. And then yesterday, on Wednesday, I was at the station even earlier, 9:47. There's 2 buses in the morning. One is an express service straight to Wellington, and the other as like an all stops to pick up passengers along the way. The express bus had already left, so I caught the all stops one, and he was just about to leave. So this is about 9:47, 9:48, and I confronted the driver about leaving early, and he said he'd been told that he could leave anytime after 9:50. He was about to leave just before that anyway, but I told him, that there was the timetable, and we really rely on that being stuck to. And so after I sat down, he left at 9:50, still 2 minutes before the scheduled time. And I know if 2 minutes or 5 minutes sounds like a lot for people here, but as a regular public transport rider, I know that I have 12 minutes from the moment I step out of my house to get to the station. That's a comfortable walk. 10 minutes I can do in a brisk walk, and 9 minutes I'm going to be late unless I jog. Like, we have this down to the minute. I know that if I hear the train when I'm entering the subway under, I think it's Cambridge Terrace, I'm going to miss that train. I know that if I don't reach a specific corner 5 minutes before the train is meant to leave, I'm going to really struggle to make it. So a service arriving a couple of minutes late, that's manageable because I'll be there anyway, but a service leaving a couple of minutes early is completely disruptive and can throw out my day. I work a customer support job in the city. Typically, I start at 10:30 and finish at 7:30. It's a 20-minute walk from Wellington station across the city to my workplace. And if I'm late for this, and like our shifts are very strict, so 1 minute late is noticed. And if I'm late, I have to make up time in the evening. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes late, can then make it really difficult for me to hit the 8:05 train back to the hut in the evening. And the services in the evening are pretty infrequent. So if I don't hit that, then it's a real frustration being stuck in the city. So I guess each minute is really quite precious to me. And we really count on public transport being reliable. I think when there's a statement released by Metlink that there's going to be a new service or a new timetable, I feel like that's a promise to the public, and it's something that we really rely on. And so services leaving early can be very, very difficult. And I guess I just wanted to share that story. So thank you for hearing.
Thank you, Hemi. Well, can I say sorry for the level of service you've experienced there? It's not acceptable. It's deeply frustrating, I think, to us that you get that level of service you shouldn't, and we'll follow up those specific buses leaving early as bus replacements from Waterloo. But also thank you for sharing. It's exactly the purpose of public participation and exactly the purpose of having these opportunities in public in this committee. So we will get back to you with a detailed kind of set of information that we can provide and some actions that we will take. But I will open up for questions if there are any from the committee about that. I don't see any, but you can't probably see the faces in the room, Hemi, but I can tell you that the senior staff are looking like they've been paying attention to what you're saying, and they're looking determined to fix the problems. It is, I will be honest with you, that we have had a number of problems with bus replacements, and I'm not sure if you could hear what we were talking about in the last item, but we have been focused quite a lot on the program that we have for buses replacing trains and a specific work stream on it. There's a plan, there's a set of tasks, there's a set of outcomes we're seeking to reach. And yeah, we're very dedicated to achieving that. But it is a challenge. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of contractors that we pay to provide a service that we rely on. And yeah, that's probably enough said.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you very, very much.
We'll be back in touch.
See you. Bye.
Okay, right. Back to item 8, which is delivery of the Wellington Regional Public Transport Plan of 2021 to 2031. So this is the final time we will consider this item now that we have a new regional public transport plan. So Sam, you're just, yep, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Chair. Yes, so this is the final report on the progress against the current RPTP, with the new RPTP having been adopted. It comes into effect from this financial year. I will take the report as read, but just note that there is some information, most of the information in this report you've received previously or in other reports. It's quite a sort of consolidated report, but it does include the information about the rest of region bus network review that we've undertaken. So that's new information. I think overall we're quite pleased with where we've got to with the actions against the RPTP, and we're looking forward to setting out sort of some new reporting against the refresh document for the next training. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Sam. Councillor Connolly.
So in the table, which on my hard copy is at page 52, a couple of items have not investigated during the training next to them. Can you explain what that means? I mean, obviously I know what that means, but this was a plan and they were actions on the plan to be delivered during this training. Why were those items not delivered during the training, and what is the, I guess, future for those items, because some of them haven't been replicated in the next public transport plan, because I guess we thought they were going to be done in this public transport plan. So I don't want them to drop off the radar, particularly the two in my rohi.
Good questions.
Thank you. So through you, Chair, I think as we noted in the paragraph leading into that item, really the work plan was set, and then other things happened, including bus driver shortages and that kind of thing. So just some of the things, I guess, that the things that were being looked at were prioritised, and those things weren't. Yeah. It didn't come up to the top of the list. But I think in terms of our work going forward, while they might not be specific items of the new RPTP in terms of looking at HUT bus services, we still have those obviously in our mind in terms of the sorts of things that we might need to look at.
So is it all right? I'm just thinking of kind of accountability and reporting. Can I kind of ask that the not investigated during this training actions sort of de facto become part of the new plan, so that I can ask for reporting on them as part of the reporting on the new plan, just to ensure that they don't get forgotten about?
I'm going to pass over to Tamsin.
Yes. And just to fill out my answer a bit more, in terms of the wider network review that we're doing, that's the process that will pick these up. So they will definitely be included, but whether they are individual line items to report, I'm not sure, but I absolutely note your interest in those particular ones, and we'll make sure that they're part of our reporting back so that we've met our accountability responsibility.
I do think as part of when we do this, God forbid, next time, I guess there was and the onus falls on me just as much as anyone else, that there was a responsibility to have brought what wasn't achieved in this training to the fore and made sure that was explicitly incorporated. We did discuss the items that hadn't been delivered during the discussion of the new plan, but possibly it was too late. So I won't forget them, and I'm re-elected already, so I can make that promise. Yeah, I won't forget them, and I do want to see them not drop off the list and be part of our considerations moving forward.
Yes, it's a good point. And I mean the brutal truth is that the RPTP is always an aspirational document that includes everything we might hopefully be able to do. And unfortunately, midway through the last RPTP, the funding settings and policy settings changed dramatically at a national level, which meant instead of going forward, we went backwards, actually. So that is a unfortunate reality, but it's good that you've raised those and good that we've had an assurance that they can be considered for our work next term as well. Mr. Lenson and then Councillor Saw.
Thank you. I was just looking at the emissions numbers on page 44 in the PDF, item 17 and 21. And I guess sort of the wording there says that there's been a decrease in emissions over the last 3 years, which feels slightly disingenuous given that there's been an increase from last year to this year. And I just wonder if we could get some information around why that might be, and if we're going to then see a corresponding decrease again going forward.
So I believe that's due to the fact that we've got more accuracy in our methodology. So that's why there's an increase, and we now have adequate information. We'll report on the same basis going forward, but that's the reason for that.
We underreported in previous years, essentially. Councillor Saw.
Thank you. My question is related to page 50 of Diligent, around the paragraph 47 to 49 around the fringe benefit tax and the potential employee employment benefits. I note in paragraph 49 that Metlink will investigate exemptions once NTS is implemented. Could someone just explain the rationale for this, and why perhaps, are there any other actions we can take in advance of this, or is there anything that we can do in the interim, given that, again, there's a theme in our Transport Committee where we're reliant on other agencies doing the work? Is there anything that we can move ahead with, noting that there could be some capacity constraints for our team in this space? So I understand that. Just
this has been something that we had looked to NTS for, but we've actually got some breaking news on that front, so I'll pass to Tim to give you
breaking news. We cut to Tim Shackleton.
Breaking news. All right. I think that got everybody's attention. The intention was to have an FBT employee targeted scheme as part of the NTS. We did include it in the scope. At the moment, obviously, there's some challenges around the timelines, as Sam says, of that project. So it's probably not going to occur in the next year or two. So there is clearly an opportunity for some sort of interim solution should we consider it. We've become aware just in the last couple of days that there is some providers of incentive schemes that are FBT free. And so it's something that we're currently investigating, but we believe there is an interim solution we could potentially explore. And there is an opportunity to roll that out at some point in the future. But we just need to investigate the solution first, and we will probably bring something back to the Transport Committee for the final Transport Committee maybe. And we could also give a brief update at the workshop this afternoon, because we've got a slide or two as well. So watch this space, I guess.
that sounds like good news.
No, it is. It is.
Yes.
I can confirm this is looking like very good news, and so we'll hear a bit more about that. Thanks, Tim. And just in general, interim solutions while we wait for the government to deliver national ticketing are generally very welcome, I would say, around this table. So that, I think, is everything on this item. I was going to say something about paragraph 15 on the mode shift side, and just saying that the mode share for active modes in public transport for the last 3 years to December 2023 is 29%. So that sounds like it's steady, right? So that sounds like we haven't had really any increase in active and public transport mode share at all, right? So instead of having, so I guess 40% over a 10-year period would be 4% every year. But the data at the moment is saying we've had 0% over the last 3 years. And in fact, with the train stuff, it sounds like we've actually maybe had some negative mode shift away from rail towards road. So do we have any data on that, actually? I was wondering.
Through you, the chair, we give an update generally on a quarterly basis with the Wellington Analytics Unit, and that's clearly showing that, and obviously the surveys that we've done on rail show that there's been a degree of shift back to the private car for rail. However, that's been offset and slightly more than offset by the significant growth in patronage of buses, and we've seen quite positive mode shift I think we've had a growth of close to 30% in the last 2-3 years, even once you take out the COVID effects. And that's significantly greater than the population growth of the region at the moment. So clearly there's positive mode shift in bus and maybe a little bit of negative mode shift in rail.
So is that, because if we're saying that the last 3 years to December 2023 mode share is steady, that suggests 0% growth because it's been 29%, or is that an average of 29% over the last 3 years?
Through the share, it's quite difficult to calculate because mode share includes active mode, so it's not just public transport, so it's walking and cycling as well, and there have been some known trends in that space.
So where does the 29% figure come from of mode share for active modes of public transport? At paragraph 15 of the report, it says the annual monitoring report. So that's probably from our Wellington.
It's probably from the Wellington
Transport.
Yeah, I suspect so.
Yeah, maybe we could just ask him to just look at has that figure mode share in the region for active and public transport. Can we see a trend line over the last, let's say, 3 or 4 years, to see whether it's moved up and down? That'd be good. Thank you. Okay, that's everything for that item. Item 8. So item 9 is our final item for the committee meeting, public transport performance for June. Paul, hello.
Morning all. I'll take the paper as read, but I'll just go through a couple of things just as way of an update. So we've already talked about the services on the Wairarapa line being back as trains as the 4th of August. And we're sort of into our second week now with no staff-related issues. Transdev's roster, their availability, they're now up to 10 train managers, but they have taken some opportunity to give some of the guys that have been on there for a little while a bit of a break. By the 22nd of August, they'll have one more that would have completed his training, and then the 2 trainees come out early September. So they'll have an establishment of 13, and 2 new trainees go in October to start that course. So we're looking pretty good in that space. Just in regards to the Wairarapa BRT refunds. So from the 1st of July to the 4th of August, so on average we had 267 passengers per week use those bus replacements. And over that 6-week period, that was an average cost of 2.8k, and we budgeted between 4 and 6 for that. So that period's, well, we've completed that now. I have had a few questions by Councillor Duffy around East by West Ferry, especially in relation to the resilience of their staffing levels. You would have noticed in the report that we had 114 cancellations in June. Part of it was 62 of those were related to the Cobar Cat hitting the Dave Bay Wharf. But 52 of those were around staff. So to give you an understanding of what they are doing, so they're currently recruiting an additional senior skipper. That'll bring them to 6 skippers, and they're running 2-boat schedule with 3 boats. Well, not today, but that's how it usually rolls. So that advertisement goes live next Tuesday. So to get an understanding of what a skipper has to go through. So a qualified skipper requires a skipper restricted limits licence, and that is completed within a 6-week block course. And then obviously there's additional training that East by West managed to ensure that each skipper is able to operate each boat. And as part of their development program, they upskill their deckhands. So they currently have a deckhand and their health and safety manager in the SRL course at the moment. So I think resilience in terms of skipper staff is pretty good, and they've got a good plan. Just wanted to talk about the interblock. Obviously, bus replacements leaving early from intermediate points. Obviously, Hemi raised a lot of other issues today that we'll have to take into consideration, but I've spoken to Transdev about this to ensure that NCS, who is the operator, are aware of the issues, and they'll start, so Transdev will start using their staff to, as they do on trains, to manage those intermediate stops, because they don't, the bus replacements aren't, the drivers have visibility, but it's a paper copy, so it's not the same as what you'd see on the metro services. But yes, there's a lot more to dig into there.
Thank you, Paul. So I'll go to Councillor Connolly for a question.
So sorry, I'm a bit obsessed with rail services replaced by buses. So just on what you said just then, I thought the plan was to move away from NCS services and move towards our existing bus operators who are part of PTOM. So can you comment on how many services are still being provided by NCS? And that was particularly the case when they were planned. So this is a planned service, right? Planned bus replacement. So why is NCS providing this service? Secondly, I know calls for more information are a little bit annoying, but in that wee table where you've got rail services replaced by buses, we can see that actually May had quite a few unplanned rail services being replaced by buses. Now you're providing us details of the Wairarapa line on a daily basis, and that's really, really interesting, but it kind of points to a couple of different themes around rail, like the actual tech, the units breaking down versus staffing issues versus other issues. And I think it would be really interesting to get the breakdown of those unplanned services as to what the issues sitting behind them are, because although the numbers are reasonably small, maybe there's only 5% even in that May figure, that still relates to about 75 services that are unplanned and being replaced by buses, and we need to interrogate that a little bit more. So NCS and a bit more data around the reason we're getting unplanned rail bus replacements.
Yeah, we can certainly bring back some information on why those services are unplanned. I'm going to say this from me, I'm not aware that we can't use NCS. We've kitted out, I think, 18 buses to be able to provide the service. I wasn't aware that we couldn't use them.
It's not that we couldn't, it's that we had sort of, I don't know if we resolved, but we had sort of understood, I would say, that we were going to certainly prioritise Metlink contracted operators for especially planned bus replacements. But Sam, maybe you know some more about why this is happening.
Yeah, just in terms of that, I think the part of that was because NCS's fleet didn't have snapper and didn't have bike racks and that kind of thing. So it's the NCS now does have fleet, which does have those things, so they are available for extra capacity. I'm not aware of the detail around the specific contracting of operators for this block of line, but in terms of like our focus has been on making sure that Transdev have bus fleet available for them to contract for block of line that has all the standard Metlink meets the standard Metlink spec.
I don't think that's acceptable for a couple of reasons. One, as Thomas says, it was our understanding that for planned bus replacements, we were going to prioritise using Metlink contracted buses. If there was a change to that policy, we needed to be made aware of that. And I think there are many reasons why we would prefer to use Metlink contracted bus services. And as the service being delivered shows, we need to have that really tight relationship with those providers, and we're getting poor service as a result. Also, we're talking about this real-time information, and that's another thing that we can probably get better information from our Metlink contractor providers than from NCS. So I think our policy still remains, because we haven't changed it, that Metlink contractor buses are our priority, and that's what we're expecting.
Maybe we can. I mean, I agree with that. So maybe when we do the report on, bus replacement program for our next transport committee meeting in September, we can have a section on the contracting of bus operators by Transdev for planned bus replacement services, and maybe a little kind of history tour through our deliberations and understandings on why we want to prioritize Metlink operators. Okay, next on my list is Mr. Lenson, and then Councillor Coopland.
Thanks. I guess just building on that earlier public participation, there's a quite interesting graph around the bus departure times from intermediate timing points. And I have a couple of questions there. I mean, the first one being, my naive understanding was that there was some sort of contractual requirement around those intermediate timing points, and clearly there's a lot of buses leaving early from that perspective. But also from a end user perspective, if you look at early being before 1 minute and 15 seconds, there's also a big chunk between 1 minute and 15 seconds and 0 minutes, which is probably about 15% of the buses in total. And so just reflecting that there are a lot of buses leaving early, and first of all, why are they leaving before that 1 minute 15 second definition of early, but then also how can we going forward make them actually not leave early from a customer perspective as well?
I can say from, I think it's July of this year, it's now a nominated performance indicator. So we've got a measurement around it, and we'll be measuring them, and it will affect them financially if they do leave early.
Yeah, so that's probably the main thing in our control is to measure it and hold them to account. It is an extremely frustrating thing. I mean, when I get the bus, I find it very frustrating when it leaves early, and because just what it means is that you have to basically get there, let's say 5 minutes before the scheduled time. So that adds 5 minutes to your overall journey time, because your journey time is not the bus trip; it's your journey from your house to the bus stop and however long you think you have to wait. So it is a massively frustrating element. But just to say, the graph here, I think this will be for scheduled bus services on Metlink routes. The one in the performance report, it won't be related to the bus replacement services for trains. But the same experience applies for people who are getting the bus. But yeah, good point. Next is Councillor Coopland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Paul, my comments relate to page 95 of the financial performance area. And so we can see we finished the year with just under 18 million shortfall in fares taken. So that will translate to a 9 million budget shortfall in that. So my questions are, how is that going to be managed in our annual report for the end of the year? Will we end up with a 9 million deficit, or are we offsetting? And if so, how is it being offset? And the second question is, with the existing 55 million, which relates to the fare shortfall for the last 3 years, I just want to understand whether that's being treated as a transport cost in our when it's amortised over the next 10 years, or is it being a cost to the general ratepayer? So,
good questions. I'm pretty sure that the deficit, the fare revenue shortfall, was budgeted in our current annual plan. But yeah, Sam can say more.
As transport, yeah, I just want to make sure that we get confirmation of that, because it's significant in how it's applied across the region and that, and also the current 9 million this year. How are we going to end up this year, and how is that going to be handled? Will that increase the existing capitalised amount that we've got, or is there another way that we're treating that? Thank you.
Through you, Chair. So the overall financial situation will be addressed through the annual report, which will be coming to, and the June year-end financials, which are coming to council next week, and there's also a FRAC report on it next week. So the detail is covered in those reports. But what I can say is that the 17.9 fair shortfall is as we had forecast for at least the last quarter of the last financial year. In terms of where we ended up at the end of the year, we have managed to make to reach a balanced budget due to reallocation of some other funding, and it is all within the PT public transport activity class, so it is all public transport spend. It's not general rate, if you like. It's within that. So Ali will be able to provide some more information at FRAC and at council next week about that.
So what I just want to understand there is it's good if we're ending up with a balanced budget. I think that was because we were capitalising the national ticketing system costs, and that was giving us an offset in there. I want to understand what moves we've done to balance that, or was it some other system or method that we used, because it has implications of understanding the future budget, whether we run to a balanced budget, and that whether it's because we made changes through the year or because of an accounting change that we were able to do. I'm quite happy that if that's what we're doing, but I'd like to understand, because it has different implications on the performance of our transport team and how they handle matters.
Yes, so there are a few different aspects that have gone into that whole picture. So I suggest that we pick that up in the context of FRAC or council.
Yeah, probably is a better FRAC conversation, because it does relate to a bunch of other council-wide.
Just give assurance, Councillor Cooper and councillors, when we come to FRAC, there will be a full assessment of all the financials as we come to the end of the year. A lot of the material is still being worked through, and we're still working with audit on our interim audit as well. So we need to get through that piece with audit. We'll have a full set of numbers, and all those questions you've raised will be able to be answered.
Okay. Satisfied with the treatment of the performance report? Thank you very much, Paul. And these reports are good as always. So that takes us to the end of the agenda. And I'll close us off. I'll close the committee off with a karakia, me karakia tātou. Unuhia ki te urutapu nui, kia wātia, kia mama, te ngākau, te tinana, te wairua te ara takatā, koiara e rongo, whakairia ake ki runga, kia tina, huye. Shall we come back at 11 o'clock?